Hello, gentlemen, barbarians, savages. Rooster here. It's going to be a 2-video compilation. Sent it out to my 2 biggest fans, Brian and Brad, who absolutely love my stuff. They told me all about it at the barn last night when we were drinking. So the first part of this is going to be the Islamic State and the myth of the moderate Muslim, and the second part is going to be the Islamic agenda and how the Islamic State is using democracy against us. So let's get right into it. The myth of the moderate Muslim. Over time, the Muslim religion, the Islamic religion, has killed 270 million infidels or non-believers, and they've killed another 300 million Muslims. To put that into context, Hitler killed 6 million Jews during World War II. Okay, these people, the Islamic religion has killed almost 600 million people. So the idea that they're moderates is just crazy. And this stuff has been going on for 1,400 years. It's not new. I mean, it's new to America since 9/11, which has been about 16 years now, 15 years. But it's not new in the world. This has been going on for a long time. So let's talk about the 3 ways that we can see that Muslims aren't moderate. One is the Quran. The second way is Sharia law. And the third way is something that's very, very subtle that not a lot of people know about, and that's called Taqiyya. Not tequila, Taqiyya. And that's the last thing that I'm going to talk about, because that's probably the most important tactic that they use to say that they're moderate when they're really not. Okay, what does the Quran say about being moderate? Well, Islam is not like Buddhism. It's not like Hinduism. It's not like Christianity. It's not like Judaism. It's not like Shinto. It's not like Taoism. It's not like any other religion in the world, in that it does not wish to peacefully exist with other religions. Okay? All of those other religions, Buddhism, Taoism, Christianity to some extent, all are based on peace and creating peace. Islam is not about creating peace. The way that you are peaceful in the Islamic religion is if every single person around you is Muslim. There are no other religions. Right in the Quran, it says that you will not allow yourself to peacefully exist with other religions. What else do they do? Muslims, when you see them on TV and stuff like that, they cannot stand against acts of terrorism. You'll see them come on and they'll go to the Muslim State Assembly for Love and Peace or whatever, and they'll stand outside and they'll have some representative or ambassador come out and they'll stick a microphone in his face and he'll say, we don't believe in this terrorist act, and he blew up this supermarket and all this stuff and suicide bombers, and we don't believe in this stuff. We really don't. Well, basically what I'm going to talk about later is he basically has his fingers crossed behind his back like little kids do, when they're lying. It doesn't count if you have your fingers crossed. The Quran allows Muslims to do that in the face of non-Muslims or infidels. What else does the Quran say? The Quran says that the minutest persecution of Muslims in any way, the taking of Allah's name in vain, or even drawing a picture of him or anything like that, is far worse than the slaughter of infidels. So the most minute persecution against a Muslim is worse than killing Christians or Hindus, beheading them or whatever. You have to understand that about this religion. They don't take to constructive criticism at all. Okay, there's no constructive criticism of a Muslim. Hey, you probably shouldn't cut people's hands off. Oh, okay. Well, we'll take that into account, and then they chop your head off. Okay. One of the biggest things about the Quran that a lot of people don't realize is two aspects of the Quran. One is called the Mansook, and the other is called the Nassihk. Okay? The Mansook and the Nassihk. And what those two things together basically mean is that verses that are early on in the Quran can be contradicted by verses that are later on in the Quran. The later you are in reading the Quran, the more truth there is. And if this verse at the very end of the Quran contradicts something that's said at the very beginning of the Quran, the one at the end is the one that you should listen to as part of Muhammad's law. So the verses that are early on in the Quran are known as the Mansook, and the ones that are later on that may contradict the Mansook are called the Nassihk. Okay? So the later they are in the Quran, the more that they supersede what's been written earlier. Now, what does this have to do with Islam being a violent religion? Well, if you read the beginning of the Quran is very peaceful. It's all about joy and love and Muhammad's love for his people and all of this stuff. And, the 5 pillars of Islam and basically the rules that you should do as a Muslim. It's kind of like the Old Testament for the Jews. It kind of tells them how to live and kind of the laws and stuff like that. Well, the Nassihk, the later on verses in the Quran, are very violent, and they have a lot to do with Sharia law, and they have to do with how you deal with infidels and how you deal with non-Muslims and how you either convert non-Muslims over to Islam or you kill them. And a lot of stuff about, non-Muslims in the Islamic religion, political system, theology, and legal system are non sequiturs. You don't matter. You're basically slaves. If you're not going to convert to Islam, according to the Quran, you're basically a slave. You can be killed. It just doesn't matter. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the second thing, which is Sharia law. Sharia law. All right. Here's Sharia law in a nutshell. Theft is punishable by amputation of your right hand. Criticizing or denying any part of the Quran is punishable by death. Criticizing Muhammad or denying that he's a prophet, punishable by death. Criticizing or denying Allah of Islam is punishable by death. A Muslim who becomes a non-Muslim is punishable by death. A non-Muslim who leads a Muslim away from Islam is punishable by death. A man may carry an infant girl and consummate marriage when she is 9 years old. Female mutilation. A woman may only have one husband, but a man can have up to 4 wives. I don't see too much wrong with that. I kind of actually like that one. A man can beat his wife for insubordination. A man can unilaterally divorce his wife. A woman needs her husband's consent to divorce. A divorced wife loses custody of all children over 6 years of age when they get divorced. If a woman is raped, you need the testimonies of 4 male witnesses. That's kind of, rapes aren't really witnessed by 4 people unless they're, gang rapes. And they're not going to turn themselves in. A woman who's been raped cannot testify against her rapist in court. A woman's testimony in court is only worth half the weight of a man's. A female heir inherits half of what a male heir inherits. Women can't drive. Women can't speak alone to a man who's not their husband or a relative. All meat that they have through the halal must be sacrificed to Allah. And Muslims should engage in Taqiyya, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about, and lie to non-Muslims in the advance of Islam. Okay? So, just Sharia law right there, you can see, is a very, if you feminists, third wave feminists, think that patriarchy is bad in the United States, why don't you go over to Iraq or Iran, Jordan, Saudi Arabia? You can see what a real patriarchy is like, okay? All of the stuff that women do to men over here in the United States, taking their kids away from them, not giving them a voice in court, all that stuff over in Saudi Arabia and stuff is the other way around. Men do all that stuff to women. So we live in a gynocentric United States, but Sharia law is very patriarchal. So, and I don't really want to get into that. I've done an entire video on gynocentrism and stuff like that. So, but anyways, that brings us to the third part that I want to talk about, and that's Taqiyya. The doctrine of Taqiyya is just what it says. It's the ability for a Muslim to lie to an infidel or to a non-Muslim to advance the cause of Islam. This is the very subtle way that they are not moderates. You may think that the person living next to you on the street who's a Muslim, they're a very quiet family, they're all good, and they're very, they're just like the Catholic family on the other side of you, but they're not. Their plan is to advance Islam throughout the entire world. And the difference between a Catholic and a Muslim is that they can lie about the stuff that they do. They're compelled to deceive for the greater purpose of Islam. It's written in the Quran that this is something that they should do. It says in the Quran, and every Muslim knows this, Jihad is war, and war is deceit. So this family that's next to you, that you think is just like the Hindu family or the Buddhist family, they are not. Their plan is to get that mosque up in the neighborhood and to start converting people over to Islam in any way that they can. Okay? One of the other things about Taqiyya is promises made to any non-Muslim are not binding. They are in no way binding. So they can go into contracts with you, they can go into business with you, they can start businesses with you, they can do anything that they want to with a non-Muslim, and under Sharia law and under the tenets of their religion, it's not binding. They can basically, leave contracts, do whatever they want. They can burn your house down if they want to and say, as long as it promotes the Islamic faith, everything's good to go. Now, how do we see this? One of the classic ways, and everybody's known this since the early 80s, Yasser Arafat used to use Taqiyya, the doctrine of Taqiyya. He would give two speeches. He would give a speech in English that he would send out to ABC, NBC, and CBS about how they were seeking peace and they were trying for the to do the peace talks and all this stuff, and didn't want war and didn't want any of this stuff, and just wanted Palestine to be a free state and didn't want to kill Jews or any of this stuff. He would send that out over the American television, and then literally 5 minutes later, he would give the same speech in Arabic to the Palestinians, and it would be, it's time to kill the Jews. It's time to gather together your Islamic friends. It's time to gather together the Arabic state. It's time to attack Jerusalem. It's time to shoot missiles. It's time to stop the infidels. It's time to spread Islam and take over Jerusalem. And you could see this. I mean, this was, everybody knew about this stuff. And it's not just propaganda when you do that. It's basically lying. You see this, the CARE is a group that does this. They come out and they've been tied with terrorism financially. They've been tied with physical gifting of weapons and stuff like that to terrorist groups, the Muslim Brotherhood and stuff like that. And as soon as you put a microphone in their face, they're like, no, we don't know anything about that. You know, we're a peaceful religion. And the CARE group is in the United States. And then, you know, imams or imams, or whatever they call them. Classically, though, they've been liars too. You know, they'll say one thing to the American press, and then they'll go into the mosque and they'll say something different. Now, okay, so that's something that we want to understand is about Taqiyya. Taqiyya is of fundamental importance to Islam. Practically every Islamic sect agrees to it and practices it. We can go so far as to say that the practice of Taqiyya is mainstream in Islam, and those few secrets not practicing it diverge from the mainstream. Okay, it's prevalent in politics and especially in the modern era. It's not just a Shiite thing. It's not just a Sunni thing. They all do it. Okay. What else? Talk a little bit about the mosque. There's a great 1-hour show that was on television on PBS about the third Jihad, where they went into a mosque undercover and they had the imam stand up and basically talk about moderate Islam, moderate Muslims. And they said to him, you know, they had the imam stand up and he said, you know, are any of you fundamental terrorists? And they're like, no. You know, are any of you fundamentalists in the Islamic religion? No. And then he went down the list. Do you believe in beheading? Do you believe in chopping off hands? Do you believe in stoning women? Do you believe? And they all raise their hand. Yes. So the point that I'm trying to make on this is they're all out there. They're all extremists. Every single person that goes to the mosque, the lady that's next door to you that goes to that mosque, is an extremist. There are no moderates. If they believe in Sharia law, they believe in the teachings of Islam, they believe in the Quran, and they believe in Taqiyya, they are not moderate Muslims. There's no such thing as moderate Muslims. Moderate Muslims is an idea that we have created based on our religions in America to make us feel safe because we don't understand Islam and how Islam really works. Okay? And that's my point. And that's pretty much all I have right now for this. I'm going to do the second recording here in a little while about the Islamic State and how they use democracy. But if you have any other comments or questions, or if you disagree with me, or if you're a Muslim and you want to get on here and say something that I'm lying about or that I'm wrong about, feel free. Go ahead. I'm open to it. And as always, take it easy.